Hey, ¿qué pasa, Calexico? Welcome back to the podcast. Like always, before we begin, I want to thank a couple of people. I want to start off by thanking my friends here at Calexico Brewing Company for allowing me to record today's episode here. I really appreciate it. Also, I want to thank my anchor sponsors. I want to thank my friends Camilo, Jake, Edward Velasquez, John Cabrera from AmeriCorp, Eddie Lopez from Roots Creative, Ms. Norma Galindo. And I also want to thank Sergio's Tacos and Hotdogs, serving the Imperial, San Diego, and Yuma counties with Mexicali styles and taquizas for the last eight years, or the next last year, for 8 years of experience. Sorry. Also, if you want to contact Sergio, 760-562-0057, or look for Sergio's Tacos and Hotdogs on Facebook. Finally, I want to thank David Gastelum. If you're thinking of buying or selling home in the Imperial or San Diego counties, make sure you contact David. He's not only a realtor, but an investor with over 10 years of experience, and he'll teach you along the way in one of the most important investments of your life. His phone number is 760-235-9576. Today, I have a guest that I go way back with him. I remember, yeah, it's funny because I was talking to somebody else about this, of how we really don't go out and play anymore. You know, back when I grew up, you know, it was before the internet, before cell phones, before tablets. So, you know, we would ride our bikes in the neighborhood. We would play backyard football, basketball. And I remember for a long time we had, you know, people that we go watch on Fridays, like, oh, we're going to go watch, my guest, Butch Morales, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, there's a Butch
another legend.
Yeah. So Tony Butch Morales is my guest today. So, you know, growing up, I remember going to Pop Warner practice, and Fridays we would always wear our jerseys, and then we would get to go in free to the high school football games.
Awesome.
And I remember, you know, that's a memory that I, you know, have growing up here in Calexico. You know, Friday was like Friday Night Lights. You know, we hear that saying all the time, but you know, once you experience it as a Pop Warner player or a high school player, is way different, because you know, you're in that football culture, small town culture, especially in a small town.
Absolutely.
And we kind of gone away from that. I think this season, you know, kudos to the Calexico High School football team, who, you know, had a great season. But we haven't had that spirit in a long time. You know, I think the last time was maybe a couple years after you graduated, and you guys, you know, were the IBL champs.
There were several teams that made into the playoffs, went into the playoffs, and competed. So, but to have it consistently, how do we do that?
Yeah,
that's the key. And I think this year, first and foremost, congratulations, Bulldogs. You guys had an outstanding season, something to be proud of. Coaching staff to players, you all came together and had a great run. You know, it was a tough loss yesterday, but you know, all in all, like you mentioned, that Bulldog spirit, parents, the community felt it, and it was fun. It's fun to see how many people went out there and supported those Bulldogs last night. So,
yeah, it was a big crowd that traveled out to Mission Bay. So yeah, kudos to everybody that went out there. But before we get into, you know, high school football and all that, you know, can you tell us a little bit about you growing up here in Calexico?
I'm from Las KGs.
KGs, yeah.
Born and raised. You know, going back to, you know, remember you, Pichoneras, that's where one place that I had a lot of friends. We'd go out there and play basketball, play baseball, play football, you know, just with our bikes, get into a little trouble here and there, but that's, you know, our youth. And we had, you know, a lot of memories in the Kennedy Gardens. And I still, you know, my sister still lives there. I'm still there on a consistent basis. And, you know, my mom lives here. My mom works still for the school district. So I now live in El Centro with my wife and my kids. I have 3 kids. I've been married for 15, going on 16 years. I have 3 beautiful children, for ages from 13, my daughter, and my son, who is 11, and then another son who is 9. So, and I'm just, you know, living day by day and loving, you know, being out there with my kids and being involved in football. That's something that, you know, what brings me here. And, you know, it's a blessing that I'm able to, you know, be in so many people's lives and kids and friends and a community that supports football all over the Imperial Valley, and I'm blessed for that. And thank you for having me here, and it's a great pleasure to be here.
No, thank you for being on. Like I said, you know, we have this history where you were also a referee for the CYBL.
Yeah, that's my first job actually. I think I was 16, 17 years old, and I was a refereeing 21-year-old adult games, little kids game. It was fun. That was my first actual paying job, going back as a referee.
And it's funny because, like I said, I remember going to the games and watching you play, and then the next day, you would be refereeing our games. And I was like, oh, to me it was something big because, like I said, we kind of like saw you as, the local heroes, you wore that uniform on Fridays, and especially that season when you guys, when that run you guys had. When did you start getting into football? Like, what was like the earliest memories?
Good question. I mean, going back to our Pop Warner days, God, I could name all these coaches that were involved. And what we were talking to earlier, it's hard to have these parents or volunteers, to get that community and those people to put the time and effort into it. And that's how it started, going back to, Coach Mark Campillo, who else was our coaches? George Laguna, I remember him, was one of my first coaches too. I could go Gutierrez, obviously, when I was a little older, but the people that put the time into the community, because volunteering, I just got through a season, 6 months. It's another job.
Yeah.
And it's a huge commitment. And, luckily those influences, played a big part. And, I was 8, 9, 10 years old, and, friends, I kind of gravitated to those friends that participated. The families kind of came together. Yeah. And we played football, and luckily I was blessed. I could throw the ball, that's how you go to the school, or you're playing recess, and you have a kid that could throw the football, and you have some skill. Why don't you be quarterback? Well, and you just kind of go through it, and it's all right. And you build a team around. You had 15, 16, 17 kids that, everybody played a role. Linebackers, Bardo Gutierrez, Mikey Lopez, running back. So I played with them since those guys were our team in 1994, our key players. But we started at 8, 9, 10 years old and continued to do that. That's the key. How do you continue? Just can't have a team is built around continuity. It's knowing each other, understanding each other. And the more you play together, that team becomes more successful. And, I played Pop Warner. I played a little baseball. I played, basketball. So I was always into different sports. Football really didn't come to me as just like something to focus on until I was like a senior in high school.
Oh, really?
I played, like I mentioned, through high school. I played baseball, Little League. And then I started to understand that I have a little bit of more potential to throw the football than baseball, than basketball. But I always encourage kids to play multiple sports. Yeah. That's how you become better and become more active. And you work on other skills that you don't think you're working on, but you are. And baseball plays a big factor in throwing the football. Mm-hmm. It's like batting the ball, you throw the football. So those two go hand in hand. Basketball being athletic, just moving and moving your body different directions. That's basketball, and that all works together to the benefit of the kid. And football, from high school, we had a great year. As freshmen, we developed a team, and then eventually we had that good year in 1994 where we were DVL co-champs with Palm Desert. Palm Desert, back in those days, were in our league. It's a little bit more challenging having Indio, Coachella, Palm Desert, those schools up there. Now there's a whole bunch of schools, new schools there. But it was a fun ride and great experience. And then that allowed me to go to, like I mentioned, in my senior year, I focused more on football, playing the position as a quarterback. And I didn't have anybody around here that helped me out. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now, because I'd go out there and take my friends and, hey, let's go play catch. Let's get better. Let's go. And, I did it on my own and I enjoyed it. I loved it. And luckily I was able to get a full ride scholarship to a junior college. My stature as a quarterback, 5'11", is not really someone that they look at. Yeah. You have to be 6'2", 6'3" to really get really good considerations from other bigger schools. Or 6'1", you could maybe, but but it plays a big factor.
Yeah.
So luckily, I went to Arizona Western College, and I played there for 2 years, and you had kids that I played to that were at the Division I level, went to University of Connecticut, went to BYU, went to, San Diego State, went to a bunch of universities, and I'm talking about Division I universities. Some went to Division II, some went to smaller NAIA schools, and that's where I had the opportunity. From there, my roommate that played with me went to Eastern Oregon, and from there I transferred. I came back, played IBC baseball with there for about a year, half a year, and then the opportunity for me to go to Eastern Oregon. I went there. It was a great experience. And I moved back, and I was living in San Diego for 16 years, and my job was relocated to Las Vegas. My wife's from El Centro, so we moved back, and it's been about going on 6 to 7 years that I've been back to the Valley, and one of the goals that I've had is to have the kids have a local resource. They could throw the football, they could work on their footwork, they could work on their mechanics, and I've had the opportunity to work with multiple kids from 5, 6, 7 years old to, now going to be seniors this year. So it's been I'm enjoying myself here. I love the move that we made coming from San Diego to the Valley. And my family's here. My mom, my sister, my suegras, my cuñadas, we live a much fruitful life than we did in San Diego. So I'm just enjoying whatever I can. Every day is a blessing.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about living here, and then because I lived in LA till I was 8, and it seems like life in the bigger cities like San Diego, they're just much faster paced. Yeah. You spend less time with the family because you commute, and if you want to go somewhere, like it's always a kind of like a long distance ride. So in here it's like more homey, more
Absolutely.
And you said you really focus on football till you were a senior, like being a quarterback. But I mean, quarterback is such a complex position. You need to see what type of defense, who's running what routes. How were you able to manage? In
high school, I was fortunate to go to a couple of camps that kind of opened up the eyes, if you will. I went to a camp when I was a junior. I went to it was at Cal Lutheran University, and it was a quarterback wide receiver camp, and I saw that I had the capability of throwing to these other receivers from different high schools, more well-known high schools, bigger high schools, where they produce more football players, if you will. It's like, I started throwing the football around and understanding the position. But no one, like I mentioned, did I have any local support. I just did it because I enjoyed it and I developed a passion for it. My senior year, went to a camp in northern Arizona. Steve Axman was the head coach over there. And once again, going out with a group of kids that all play quarterback at 17 years old, and I'm seeing quarterbacks that are 6'2", 6'3", and could throw the ball easily 70 yards in the air, and I'm 5'11", 5'11" on a good 5'10", 5'11", and that was one thing, I could throw the ball, but not 70 yards because I just don't have the leverage to do so. But that kind of said, this is cool. This is what I love to continue to somehow go to the next level. And we'd work out, just like I mentioned, myself and the team. That's on our high school year. That was super important. That's what I stressed to these two. Luckily, I was fortunate to work out with the two quarterbacks from Calexico, Esqued and Sazueta. Sazueta came in later. Unfortunately, I wish I told him, I wish I would have had more time to work with you. But Esqued and them two, you got to put the work in, and it's not during the season. During the season, you'll get by, you get better on your offense, but you're focusing more on the team effort. Mm-hmm. And now in the off season, you go out there and throw the ball, and just like anything in life, you work at it, you get better at it. Yeah. I'm pretty sure you're a lot better than when you first started, right? Sure. So it's just a thing that you do, just like a job, just like a passion. You develop and you work at it. and you see progress. And once you see progress, it's like, get confident comes in. So, I was glad, and I've enjoyed the opportunity to work with these two boys, and all of the kids that I've done here in worked with in Imperial Valley.
Yeah, because you work with a lot of kids from
multiple areas. And I know South Central, Imperial, Brawley. I'm open to anyone that wants to put the time and work here, because there's some people that go to San Diego and travel and go to other coaches, but not having here locally is something that I could influence or help out a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old kid and throw the ball. So by the time they're getting into maybe 10, 11, 12, 13, and that's a critical time for them to understand how to throw the football and understand why you do the certain things that you do. So by the time they're in high school, their knowledge of the game or the position is much better, and allows them to be better prepared so they get to high school.
And you mentioned knowledge, and I feel that Pop Warner is a big factor into make sure once you're in high school you're not behind these other kids like in San Diego. That I think Mexicali does a great job of doing that.
Mexicali's huge. They have a lot of youth program, a big youth program. I'm talking about flag and tackle football. It's big over there.
So here in Calexico, we don't have a Pop Warner. I don't think anybody in the valley. There's just one team, right?
No, it's Hopeville doesn't have one, and Calexico, it's Brawley has one, El Centro, the Trojans have one, and then there's 760 Elite, which is really a combination of kids from the valley. Now in AYF football compared to Pop Warner, there's a big difference. One of the biggest difference is no weight limit. Before, remember, you used to have the gordito ones would have to lose weight, and you put them through a whole. You would put them through a whole. It wasn't healthy, You make them run, and you can't eat. Now they could play. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And people say, "Whoa, he's big." Well, you just run around him. It's like you're faster. You figure out a way to move. And to me, it's not a big factor. It's a good thing, because now those big kids could play football. Now they're 8, 9, 10 years old. Before they couldn't. So.
Yeah, because Pop Warner was like you had to wait, and even if you were overweight, there was also like an age limit. You couldn't be. It was like 14 or like 12 through 14. So if you were in 12, you couldn't play with the 12, 14-year-olds.
Yeah, there was now it's just straight age. 12U, 11U, 13U, 14U, and it doesn't matter. And what I was trying to say is there's no more limitations as to you live in Calexico, you have to play in Calexico. Or you live in El Centro, you have to play in El Centro. Before there was. So you could go and you live in Brawley, you want to play in El Centro, you could do that in the youth levels. But it makes it challenging, because you want to have kids that grow up and play together, and the more they play together, the better a team. Because football is the top, and in my opinion, is the hardest sport there is, because you have a group on offense, 11 individuals, and a group on defense, another, and special teams. And you got to somehow figure out a way how to play together. And that's what makes teams successful, is they know each other. And if you could play while they're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and continue to grow and play, that makes it more successful. So when they come to high school, they're more prepared.
Yeah, and not only the fact that these kids won't play together, but I feel that the other thing that makes it harder for kids in Calexico who want to play for the 760 League, because I'm assuming you guys practice in El Centro?
No, in Imperial. So it's difficult.
Yeah, because, I remember when I used to play Pop Warner, I didn't get a ride. I would walk from Las Pichoneras all the way to the high school.
Con the shoulder pads?
Yeah, you put your shoulder pad, your helmet, and your shoulder pads, and that's how you walk. That's how you got to practice, or you took your stuff to school, and then you went from school to practice.
It's difficult to do that, have someone from Calexico. And believe it or not, we have a kid that played on our team and that's from Calexico, and they would go.
Núñez?
No. ¿Cómo se apellida? He's a small 8, 9-year-old kid.
Oh, okay.
I forgot his name. God. Roman, I know him. Roman. I can't remember his last name. Zavala.
Oh, okay.
Roman Zavala. He's actually related to. ¿Cómo se llama el God, I can't think of his name. His name will come back. But anyways, he's from Calexico and they go over there. But not consistently is he there because he's from Calexico, doesn't, have to make that drive from Imperial. It's a tough thing to do for a parent.
Especially like after work, or you have stuff to do after work. Normally you would just drop them off at the fields and
that's what Calexico right now on the youth levels is hurting. It's like I mentioned, they don't have a Hillville and Calexico, and it's about finding people that are willing to commit and put the time into it. I was just talking to you earlier, 6 months, living from June, July, August, September, October, November, we play football, and it's 3 days a week of practice, and in your Saturdays they're pretty much booked all day. So it's a grind. It's a tough thing to do, but bottom line, we do it for the kids, and finding somebody that's willing to put that time and gather those group of kids to practice and get better, so by the time they're in high school, they're not behind. And that's what is happening right now with these high school kids. They go out there because it's popular, and it's it's Friday Night Lights. That atmosphere, the community, everybody gets together. Yeah, I want to go play. So they get to freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and they haven't played youth football. It's hard. It's a difficult thing to do. Can it do it? Yeah, absolutely. But it's a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, because there's, like you said, like there's a lot of parts moving in order to make a successful team. Especially like, learning the schematics on how to block in front of linemen.
Those are the details.
Little things that affect the quarterback, affect the running back. It's
it all. It's a domino effect. One lineman doesn't do his block. Yeah, that play's done. So now you're in 2nd and 13. It's like that makes it a little bit more harder to get a first down and move the ball.
Yeah, as a quarterback, do you feel that is it important to have good receivers, or is it important to have a good quarterback?
Receivers or quarterback?
Or how important is it?
Both. I mean, for me, the bottom line though is you have to have a line first. Yeah. Without the line, you can't do it. That's the number one thing is the offensive line and defensive line. Those that's for us to compete at a higher level, especially here in the Valley. Who works out with linemen? No one. We're trying to get kids or people that have had the experience. I have a good friend that coaches our team, and he's trying to put those things together for the Valley, because once again you get to freshmen and those techniques that the work and you work and you work and you work and you come kind of naturally after you've done it so many times. We don't have that. We don't have somebody here in the Valley that could work. And once again, we have to go over the hill in San Diego, and you can't do it week in, week out. It's tough. So that's the number one priority. Receivers, you need to be balanced. You have to be able to run and pass. And that's the one thing at the youth level. All we're used to is running, because really understanding how to pass, how to put people in positions at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. It takes somebody that's has had that experience, and if they don't, then it's more of a challenge for these kids to be able to throw at that level. But if you could have 2 receivers, now you become more unpredictable, because you could run and you could pass and you could keep the defense unbalanced. And it's all for me. It's the number one thing is the line, and then receivers, running backs, and quarterback. You could have a quarterback that isn't like super good, because you don't want that in a quarterback. I mean, let me rephrase it. That is super good. Yeah, we do. But you want a kid that is able to lead. As a leader, you're looked up to. That's what the one thing that I stress to every quarterback I work out. If you take one thing that we do today is understanding you're the leader out there. You're looked up to in the game. You're the only one that touches you in the center. And you got to understand what the defense is doing, what your team's doing. Are we running? Are we passing? What play is the offensive line? They're doing the right block. So those things, and the more you understand it and the more you're able to lead them and motivate. And leadership is a whole bunch of things. It's open. It's not only on the field, it's off the field, off the field too. In the classroom especially. That's how the team gravitates to you. Now when you're down, when you're facing adversity, You're the one that needs to pick up and that's the number one thing I stress to them. It's nice to have a guy that could throw the ball 70 yards in the air, but that's not what makes a quarterback.
Yeah.
It's the leadership skills. It's leading his team when his team's down. When you need to drive 80 yards to score a touchdown and you need to figure out a way, and that's when you got to really bite your tongue and let's go.
Yeah, and I think that's something that happened to us last night where, we went down and one mistake led to another, and you couldn't come back from that, and I think that's something that I've noticed a lot with local teams where like they go down and there's no they don't have the, I don't know if it's not the leadership, but they don't know how to get out of a hole.
That's tough. It's multiple things. It's believing in yourself and having that coaching staff and that team to really get out of that hole. When we were in high school, my best game we ever played was against Indio. And that game, we were down 28-7, 21-7 or something like that. And this was in the fourth quarter, and we were able to come back and beat them by, believing in ourselves. And that was a good team we played. And that was the best, most memorable game that I will ever have against the Indio Rajas.
Did you play here or in India?
No, it was in India.
Oh,
it was in India. Whoever was at that game could allude to that game. It was a fun game, exciting, and the way we came back. But it's a team. Our defense made the big stops. Our defense turned the ball over when we needed to. So that gave the offense the opportunity. So that's why I'm saying is the football is back and forth. Special teams too could make big impact when you're down. So that's a challenge. You
mentioned, going out when you were young, you didn't have somebody to kind of like show you the ropes, and you went out on your own to, And we hear a lot of this with NFL players where they spend the offseason with so-and-so receiver, and that's why they're so, in touch whenever they throw the ball. Who was because you had a good team, a good offense, and I remember one of
David Tittle was one of them. We had Mario Romero, who just on the coaching staff this year. He was one of our main receivers, and we had a team. We didn't have just one receiver. We had Mario, we had David, we had Jose Zaragoza, Pepe, we had Bobby Lucero. We had those 4 guys. I could depend on them at any given time when I needed to throw the ball to them, and they would catch it. And they were consistent. But we had previously worked during the off season. We would go to Las Casitas at the park over there, and that's where we get together and throw the ball. Mikey Lopez, his mom lives there in front of us. He would go out running back. So that's what I stress to these quarterbacks too. You not only you work out, bring your receivers, take your receivers, get kind of a bond with them because you understand them, and work out with them. They're the main component to your success.
Yeah, because timing is everything, and once you know their speed or how they run. And you
just understand it in a game where you need to improvise, you need to do something because you're down, and you need to figure out something. You know each other. This guy's going to do this because I'm used to him doing this. So let's do it. Let's and it's super important. That's why I tell them, you got to find a bond with your receivers.
Yeah. We mentioned when we talk about quarterbacks, he has a good arm, but something that hardly gets mentioned is footwork. Footwork is really important when it comes to being able to throw a ball far and with good
balance and be able to be accurate with the football. That's what you want to be, is accurate. That's the number one thing you want to be as a quarterback. You could have, like I mentioned, a kid that could throw 70 yards, and if he doesn't have the accuracy, it doesn't help your team. Yeah. And it all starts with your feet being balanced, and those are doing repetition and repetition and repetition, and you work at it, and then you change, you adapt, and you figure out on how to be balanced when you're throwing. It's a biomechanic. It's just using that. People think it's just using arm. It's your feet, your body, your hips, your rotation. As a quarterback, you're a rotational athlete. So it's like baseball. When you hit the ball, your hips got to come through. And same thing with the football, from your legs, from your back foot to your hips to your rotation, and finishing up standing straight up or balanced. But it's work, and it's not just that; it's the mental part to it too. That's the biggest thing as a quarterback. Understanding your pre-snaps. Okay, this defense is running this coverage. I see these linebackers are set here. They look like they're coming. They're moving into from a zone to a man coverage. I got this play going this way. I got this way. Which way do I go with the football? And all you have is 20 some seconds to really, process that. And that, once again, is also important to get into the filming part of it. This is what you did. You went to this guy. Why did you go with this read if they were in this type of coverage where this ball should be thrown here? So every defense that lines up on the other side has its vulnerabilities, their weaknesses. Where do we attack? So we can move the ball forward. And it's a chess match. It's plugging in, and sometimes you just gotta wait, go underneath, and then suddenly you see an opening and you go for it. But understanding that is also not just part of doing on the field. Now that's classroom settings. Do you put the time into that? Do you really focus on, and those are the details of playing the quarterback position that are difficult.
Yeah, and when you talk about working out in the offseason or working on being a quarterback during the offseason, is not only, physical part, it's, the
mental part to it too. Absolutely. That plays a key role. And one of the things that I've been, this is my first year going into this IVQB training. I've had a couple, but I need to figure out how to get these other kids that also do it and elevate it. And that's one of the things that we need to do as coaches, not only do the physical part of it, is also prepare the mental part of it, because it's a challenging game, and the more you're able to slow it, understand it, comprehend it, you're more successful at it.
You mentioned, working with some of the players in high school, but you've also been working with, what's her name?
Oh.
Azul?
Oh, yeah, she's awesome. She's, Calexico, that little girl loves it. Dad just sent me some video. Matter of fact, she's 11 years old.
Oh, wow.
Is going to be 12 in January, so almost 12. She is playing with a team from Mexico. Mexico is huge for flag football and football. That's a huge thing over there. And she's now playing with a 18U team. Wow. And she competed. She threw a touchdown pass the other day. I mean, they don't put her in much, but they put her in a couple plays, and she was able to throw a touchdown. Wow. I don't know if you've ever seen on ESPN this girl playing flag football. Flag football is a growing sport in the last 5 years, and it's a good thing now they're offering scholarships at a NAIA level, or I think throughout the U.S., and it's continuing. Mikey just pledged $4 million into that sport maybe a couple of years ago. So it's a growing sport for them. But there was this little girl who's from Mexicali. She's now 17, roughly around that. And she was highlighted on ESPN running down the sidelines, and they slowed her down, and it became viral.
That's a girl that was running and then did a spin and then went backwards and then.
No. Oh, okay. I don't think it ran backwards. This was maybe about less than a year ago. But she just went down the sidelines, and it, like I mentioned, went viral to her, and now she's very popular nationwide. She plays on a team for in Texas, but she's from Mexicali, and a great athlete, and she's playing with them over there in Mexicali. And it's like I mentioned, so big, and she likes to put in a lot of work. Her dad and I will start a program here next week, and her goal is to somehow play college flag football. And another goal is the Olympics is coming in how many years? In Los Angeles, another 7 years, 6 years, something like that. That's another big thing that they're trying to. She was invited to a U.S. national flag football team invitation as an 11-year-old, and these are 15, 17-year-old kids. And Dad was telling me she went over there, and the coaches, she looks good, but then they found out how old she was. So their thought process, she's 11 years old? We were thinking 15, 16, 17. No, so now their status went up like much higher. So she enjoys it. She, puts the work, and we've been doing that for close to a year. When we first started, to now, it's night and day. But because she likes it, she puts in the work, and it's paying dividends for her, and her dad notices when she goes to tournaments, they tell her, oh, you've been working out and doing real good. So that makes me happy, and that makes me, honored and proud. And, I'm enjoying the process, or the whole journey, if you will.
Yeah. And is it different, coaching somebody that plays flag football to...
There's some differences in how they kind of, there's no pocket presence. So their mobility is a little different. It's just a slight rush that they get. So they don't have to really work hard on those technical skills, but throwing skills and moving a little bit out of the pocket, a little bit, definitely slightly different. But I don't change it a whole lot, because ultimately she's a quarterback. Mm-hmm. She's throwing the ball, and that's what we need to figure out, how to get her to get stronger, to throw the ball further, to throw the ball faster, to throw the ball quicker. Getting the ball, as a quarterback, you always want to get the ball out of your hands as quickly as possible and get into the playmakers, running back, your receiver, and that's what we've been working on. But she's a joy to work with. I've had the opportunity to pair her with other kids, local kids, boys, and the kids, had a blast working out together. I'm looking forward to her continued growth. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of her, because my wife used to work with her dad, so I kind of. And my wife was the one that mentioned it, that she had gone to Orlando one time to go play, do something. And then I started, when you started posting, her stuff on your Instagram, I was like, well, that's really interesting that, you're coaching somebody that's playing flag football. And I mean, I don't want to say a girl because...
No, let me tell you a story. John Marino is the one that referred her, or the dad, to me.
Oh, really?
And, and got me in touch, and he messaged me, and the first thing that I asked him, so how old's your boy? Right? No, it's a girl. Like, oh man, I felt embarrassed.
Yeah.
But, as we got to know each other, start to work and seeing her skills and what she's doing, and that's out of the window. It's like, to me, she's a quarterback. Yeah. It don't matter if she's a boy or girl, and she wants to play and doing it very well at the national level. I'm talking about the national football, where she's in the United States, going with top competitors, playing in big, flag tournaments all over the country.
Yeah, I mean, because going to be 12 pretty soon, but to be competing with people that are 15-year-old, I mean, it's a big gap. Yeah. I mean, when 14 to 15, kids grow a lot, they're stronger, faster.
And that's what you want to hope to continue. It's like, it's hard to, with the kids that are 8, 9, 10, and they're good athletes, and if you don't continue to put that work, by the time they're 13, 14, all these other kids that weren't really good, they start, are better because they develop more as just your genes or their size. That makes a big, big difference.
Yeah. And there's, there's people that are, hard workers, they put in the work, but then there's some kids that are like natural athletes. Have you ever had a chance to place or coach somebody that's, that you're like, man, this kid just started like a couple months ago and he's...
Yeah, this year I had the 9, 8-year-old kids that played and never played tackle football. This is the first year. Keep in mind the pandemic. Yeah. Normally you have kids that are going into 8 and 9-year-old kids. That's the team that I just finished coaching. And you have the 8-year-olds that played before, so they've experienced 1 year of football. These kids didn't because of the pandemic. So now all these kids, 33 kids I have on a football team. Wow. That's a lot. And they're all tackle football. First time ever. So imagine that. And there's kids that just, wow, it's like you just have a natural for it. You have a nose for the ball, but the process, have them, if they now work and continue to get better and work on the craft, whatever it might be, they're going to get better.
Yeah. Because I remember this, and I don't think you don't know, but I remember him because of Louis Bowen. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
So he coached them, but I remember this kid named Gustavo Corona. He was a baseball player from Mexicali. Actually can throw. But he was super tall, so Louis is like, you want to play basketball? Like, well, I've never played. And within a couple of months, he was drop stepping and, and he just picked it up. And, all through his high school career, he was a really good basketball player. But baseball was his strong. But, just... You're like, this kid's a natural athlete because, you can pick up stuff like...
Oh, there's a bunch of them here in Calexico. So we went through I can mention a few in high school that were really good. I remember El Deo Martinez. ¿Te acuerdas El Deo Martinez? Debo. He could read that kid. Man, that guy has a natural ability running as a football player. He never played football before. He was just tough as nails. And he would run you over and was fast and...
Strong.
Híjole, that's one of the kids that I growing up. I was like, that guy was good.
Yeah, I remember... he played basketball with my dad, and I don't know if he was somebody that played basketball all the time, but I remember he just had these hops that were like, man, how's this guy? Because he was
not tall, not super tall, but
I don't know if he's my height or a little bit taller, but he could jump and then stay in the air.
He was strong too.
He was always cuadrado. And but yeah, there's a lot of people like that that were like natural athletes.
And Calexico has a bunch of anybody you talk to that's not from Calexico that go to Imperial, Brawley, El Centro. Calexico has a lot of talent. They do. How do we make that talent, go out for football? And how do we make these kids that are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 go out? Because there's nothing right now. Football is not an easy sport, and like I was referring back to the cultura we have here, it takes a parent to say, I want my kid to play football and I want to be involved. Okay, I'm going to gather people, and who knows, a head coach for Calexico could go out there and talk to the community and figure out how to make that grow. It's a big responsibility, not only being a Calexico High School football coach, which I respect Coach Solano and congratulate him, but if he wants to continue for the next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, we, the community, need to figure out how to get these kids and play football, because they didn't have any this year. They don't have had any. They've had the last time at Frankie Martinez, the tire shop, or their family were involved. This was 2 years before the pandemic. They had a good team. They had a 8, 9-year-old team.
I remember.
This was 2 years ago, and this year, unfortunately, they didn't play for whatever reason. But like I mentioned, it's so hard and so difficult. It's volunteering, and how do we figure out to get these kids that are, otherwise it's going to be a lot more challenging.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned cultura, and I think that it's a community thing. We really need to, like I mentioned earlier, when we grew up, Friday Night Lights was a big thing. I really enjoyed going to the games. Even me playing as a freshman, walking around the hallways and people congratulating you, even though we didn't win too many games, but
estabas con the jerseys.
Yeah, we won the bone game, which was the important thing.
Let's remember that.
That was the next day. I felt like I was a freaking rock star. We won the bone game. We were the underdogs, and but it was the people in school and the campus that were making us feel like
I just wish, how do we get the football become like some type of priority for these younger kids? How do we get into the schools? Do
you think that, because for a while, right now I think it's calmed down, but for a while there was a lot of talk about, head injuries and, people, concussions. It was a big thing, college, NFL. Now I think it's kind of like the technology when it comes to helmets is kind of gotten a little bit better than before. There's more rules against hitting, quarterbacks or just players that are not, protected. There's more rules that are kind of like helping the sport be a little bit less.
That's always in the back of my mind. I got 2 boys that play it, and could it happen? Unfortunately, it's just could happen at any point to anybody. I just pray that it never happens to one of our kids or anybody, period. But the key to that is coaching. Is before, in the good old days, it's okay to hit with your helmet. It goes, hit them. You know, it's like now it's teaching them the right way. You got to literally start from the ground up, and understanding that they have a helmet for protection, not for a weapon. A helmet's to protect their head. You have shoulder pads, and how to break down, how to use your shoulders, how to use your legs, how to not get your head out of the way. These leagues that are now offered, like American Youth Football, they do a good job of putting you through certification. They certify, you have to take literally like 4 classes before you become a coach, or volunteering. And one of the classes is tackling the right way. And I think that's super important, and teaching them the right way. But can it happen? Unfortunately, injuries could happen. But for me, and the reason why I love this sport, because this sport teaches these kids life lessons, the difficult times it is to go to practice, go out there and tackle, go out there and run, and doing it for a certain many months. But bottom line, you want them to complete, you know, the year they started, and to get better at what they do. And that's the bottom line. And these kids at 8, 9, 10, 11, it's not about that season. It's about development. It's about getting the opportunity to be good at high school. Once you're in high school, if you have a good team and it leads to, you know, playoffs or championships, and if you want to take it further, kids go out and get scholarships and go and get an education paid for and doing what you really enjoy doing, playing football. It happens. The chances are slim, but if you really, really put the effort and the heart and the will, it could happen. Don't care if you're from Galicia, you could do it. I was just watching the new movie on the Williams sisters.
Okay.
Salió una, and I think HBO Max.
Will Smith. So
that was an inspiring movie to see how they from Compton, California, and go into a sport and play, and look at them now.
Serena's
the best of the best. She's the best ever to do it.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned you know, the community. You know, for my oldest son played Pop Warner for a couple of years, and you know, the biggest thing we took out of it is, you know, we made this family. I don't know, you know, Rodrigo Hueso, Joe Lopez, El Peps, Gusi. Shout out to Gusi. So you know, we became this family. You know, till today, we don't see the Huesos as much because they have Darren playing, and like right now we texted him. We texted him like, hey, you know, I know football's done, so we need to get together because then baseball started. So you know I mean, they're really committed to their son. But like before, you know, when we played football, you know, it was like you said, Saturdays was about
it's
football.
All day thing, man. It's we literally, you know, I would be there at 7, 8 in the morning, and I have our team, 8, 9. My youngest one played on it, and then my son plays 11. So I mean, the 11 and under age, and they would play sometimes at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. So I used to play all day.
No, for us it's like, you know, we played, and then all right, well, you know, let's go home and take a little nap, and then go hang out afterwards. And then the next day was Sunday, so you got to watch football. So we hung out.
That's what we do at our house. The season's over. I mean, so the Saturday's over. Sunday, just watch some football.
And you know, we spend it with our Pop Warner. That's what they call them. We call them. You know, that's our Pop. Even though we don't play Pop Warner no more. Yeah. You know, that's our Pop Warner family. You know, we hang out still with. I think from the 3 families we were, the Andrades are the ones we hang out the most.
That's awesome. That's what it's all about. That's why we do it. Even though it's hard as hell sometimes. But bottom line is you do it for the kids, to friendships. Not only that, your families, you know, we become friends. I've, you know, become friends with a lot of the, team that we played, our coaching staff in particular. So we build bonds.
And it's not only like I'm talking about, you know, my friendship with the parents, but you know, the kids, you know, our kids, you know, they grew up together. They're friends. Even though Brandon went to Imperial, but they still kept in touch till today. I know my son talks to Brandon every so often, or the Cuates, and it's becoming a little family, and we don't. It's kind of sad that we don't have that here anymore. Hopefully, we get something going in the next couple of years.
I hope so. It's and anything that I could help. And I know I live in El Centro, and that's my wife's from there, my kids, but I'm willing to help out. Like I told Coach Solano from the beginning, anything that I could help out. Obviously, I'm coaching my son's team. That's my priority, my kids, but I love to help any way, shape, or form. And then eventually started working out with Satsueta. And I talked to Mario often, which is the offense coordinator there. And I talked to my compadre Boo too, and congratulate him, and Jonathan too. I wish them all congratulations, great season, and hopefully it inspires kids to go out and play football. I'm talking about the freshman level, the younger ones too. So like you mentioned, that was a big impact in your life going to the football games. I hope they did that same thing.
Yeah, and even getting them to start, a freshman team is a big part, because, even if you just get to create that team as a freshman and have them those 4 years move up, that's a huge impact on the varsity JV teams. You mentioned Boo was my coach and freshman. He looks the same though. He doesn't change. He looks the same.
So I'm gonna start working out with my godson, Sean. So hopefully they could start coming out often and make an impact in him, because he's a good athlete. He's all the Torreses are. I hope to see him soon and throw the football around and have some fun with him.
So you're gonna start practicing with the kids?
Yeah, I have something scheduled already for Monday with Azul and other kids too. Eventually, right now it's been a long season, so it's tough to get back in it right away. Kids are some kids are a little banged up from the season, so they some kids are playing other sports. So I'm available, just to reach out to me, and we have a park in El Centro. And has lights.
Sometimes we practice here
también in Calexico. I come down here. I've done it in in Brawley. I've done it at Soto Field. I've done it at what's that park? Swarthout también. We sometimes have it there, but mostly there's a park in El Centro in the community where I live in, and it has lights, it's not huge, but enough where we can work on some work.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
If is there anybody out there that wants to practice with you, how can they
can reach me on Facebook on it's IVQB, Simple Imperial Valley Quarterback Training, and I'm under El Butch 12 and Instagram. Just you could reach out and get out there and work on the off season, because that's when you make your season. It's not when you're playing the season. You get better. You have December, January, February, March, April, May, and then you start getting back into in June. Mm-hmm. So that's when you see the growth and the development.
Yeah.
So
for
I'm
sure.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, and hopefully this team's success kind of dribbles down to the community, that they want to get more kids involved in playing. And
I really hope so. And that's what's needed here. Figure out a way and just the support from the administration, from it all starts there. It all kind of trickles down. Mm-hmm. Schools, the administration, the just the city itself. Figure out parks is an issue. When you start working as where can we practice? Where how do we get parks available with lights, or those are all logistics that really take a lot of time and a lot of support from the schools, from the city. Yeah. So. Hopefully. Yeah,
and it kind of, especially right now, I mean, I know the pandemic's not over, but, after having that awful year where everybody was inside, we need more exposure to sun and being outside. And
we didn't have one single, 6 months, one single kid that contracted, or contracted, or what do you, I can't even say it.
Got COVID.
Got COVID, yes. And They did. A couple of the kids did, but they got it from where their school or families. But in the realm of things, at practices, no, there was never a breakout. And we're tackling, we're sweating, we're amongst each other, and you know,
close contact.
I mean, that's what you got to do to play football.
And I was watching some report on how, you know, in the NFL, none of the exposure was on practice or on the field on the games. Like, it's crazy that.
Yes, it's all.
Especially like when you're in the line where people are so close together, breathing.
They're tackling. They're on top of each other, getting up, and you know, it's like your helmets, and you know, you think, but not as one single case because of that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it is.
So we're almost at an hour. Anything that you would like to?
No. I just want people to understand that I'm here for the community, for any kid that inspires to be a quarterback, wants to go work on that craft, and do it on a consistent level. I'm talking about maybe once, twice a week. You know, just can't go once a month and work at it, expect to be good at it. I'm here. You know, you could reach me on Facebook, Instagram, however you could reach a small community. Everybody knows everybody. And we could put a plan together and help out any kid that aspires to be.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time. Not only here, but with the kids that you were able to, you know, help out during the season. It kind of showed, you know, especially with Calexico. But you know, we saw a lot of good quarterbacks this season.
Thank you, man. Thank you, and I take pride in it. And I thank you for having me and giving me this opportunity. It's been a great experience, and thank Calexico Brewery for allowing us to do this.
Yeah,
awesome.
It was a good drive down memory lane.
Yeah, it was definitely. Thank you.
For sure. All right, guys. Well, and sorry to fucking up your name. I messed up.
That's all right. That happens.
Butch Morales. Yeah, I know. I don't know why I always like when I mention you to other people. I kind of.
You're younger and you're closer to him in age. That's why you know him more.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how. Don't worry about it.
But thank you again for spending this time, and thank you, Calexico Brewing Company, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Awesome, man. Thank you.